Thank you so much for staying with us on Kakake the African Voice. We'll begin our first conversation. Of course, this discussion started from the paper review. One of the stories that made the front pages of all the papers is the fact that the federal government has actually opened up on the matter of the Chicago State University and the certificate issue of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the presidency saying that what Tinubu submitted to INEC was not a forged report, as being insinuated in some quarters, particularly by the opposition. So we do have two gentlemen who will be helping us delve into this issue. Anthony Hilebo is a lawyer and also a former member of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council. He's right here with us in the studio, and he's being joined by Dominic Alancha, convener at Shiwaju Mandate Guard. So we'll have the APC and the PDP to look at this issue from both perspectives. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming and welcome.
Thank you for having
All right,
us.
so let's begin with you, Alancha, because this matter is with you and the APC. Finally, the certificate has been released, in line with the court order, and then we're having conflicting reports as to what exactly the Chicago State University said about the certificates and what it did not say. From the paper reviews this morning, our reviewers did say that, well, no Nigerian journalist was there, so we're having conflicting issues from this report. But from your own perspective, from the APC quarter, we've seen the, a statement issued by the senior aide to the president on this matter. But let's hear from you what exactly the documents say, whether what was submitted to the INEC was forged or not.
Thank you very much. Nigerians deserve to know the truth, but nothing but the truth. The document released to Atiku and followed up by the deposition by the CSU registrar, Caleb Westberg, vindicated Mr. President, because a lot of questions that were raised during the disposition, and remember that this disposition had Atiku Abubakar, attorney in the U.S., he had the school legal team, it has Asiwaju's, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's lawyers. They were all present during the disposition, and questions, in other words, the registrar was cross-examined over the document they submitted to Atiku. So that document vindicated Mr. President. Number one, the President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was he a graduate of CSU, Chicago State University? Yes, he was a graduate of CSU, Chicago State University. He graduated with honors. In other words, in Nigeria, in our climate here, we call it first class. He graduated with first class, from that university. So those are some of the questions. The issue whether was he a female or a male, those frivolous issues that were being raised was also addressed. He applied to the school as a male. The records from his file shows that he's a male. There is no issue of female. Mr. Caleb Westberg also said that if there were any conflicting issue, whether about the gender or whether about the date of birth and stuff like that, he said that there could be typographical errors. He has worked with different, data collection companies, or agencies, and over time, they realize that these mistakes happens from time to time. Myself here, I had an account with GTB, and at a point, the data I submitted to them, I think at the point of entry, they made a mistake. In my date of birth, I had to cough out at least 15,000 naira to go and correct it with NIN. So these are some of the issues, that certificate, that release vindicated Mr. President, and Nigerians need to know that he graduated from CSU. It is his certificate, and whether or not the certificate, was the authentic certificate, they had two angles to it. Number one is merely ceremonial. That certificate, the diploma certificate, what we call if it's BSU you attend here as our own certificate in our clan here, is ceremonial over there. They don't have record of it. What they have record of is your transcript. And I'm learning something from there. If Nigerians universities can also adopt that, it will help us in fetching out the most competent people, from amongst us, the most competent graduates, from our universities. If we are beginning to lay more emphasis on transcript. Transcript is a record of your performance. Transcript is a record of your grade. How did you do in terms of accounting? What was your performance in your field of, if you are a journalist, what was your performance during the courses you took? Those are transcripts. So that is what the school keeps record of. But as to whether they have record of their of the diploma certificate, the school said that they don't keep such record. But if you lost your own or it got damaged, you have the right to approach third-party vendors. There are registered vendors that are recognized, from various across universities in the US, that can be reissued, after confirming, that you graduated from that school, they will reissue another certificate for you. So with the disposition, I followed it up till about 1 a.m. the day before yesterday. It has vindicated Mr. President, and Nigerians need to know that Mr. President possessed the certificate, that he claimed to possess, or the one he submitted to INEC. And more so, people are saying that the CSU confirmed that certificate is fake. It's not true. There is nowhere in their disposition that the CSU came out to say that certificate was fake. In the first place, Atiku did not even present any certificate from INEC that Asiwaju submitted to INEC to CSU for verification or confirmation.
Okay.
And so their response to that is that they can't even comment on a certificate they have not seen.
Okay, so Tony, you're here. Respond.
What's the response you want to give to an issue that is in the public domain? As much as he said he followed it, I started this case from the hearing. We could dial in, and unlike some of the hearings we have in Nigeria, where you're not allowed, except of course the exception that was made during the reading of the judgment of PEP. But you could dial into Judge Maldonado's court and listen to everything. And I think the first step is that for me personally, Nigeria, our image has been dented irreparably by this saga. And it's unfortunate that all of us crucified the young lady Mesoma from Anambra for upgrading her scores and falsifying her JAMB score. And we sit here and think that it is okay to tell Nigerians that a certificate that he mentioned that during the deposition, the registrar never alluded to the fact that those certificates did not originate from CSU. And in 1 second, he says it was given by a third-party agent.
I never said it was given by third.
I did not respond to you. The thing about people who will not allow you to speak is that they obviously know they've come to blagger you on air. So please, can you just allow me when I'm done? You're speaking and I gave you courtesy of listening to everything you capped up to Nigerians that makes us sound as
Tony, could you please respond? There's no point for
I'm being very straight here. I do not like being interrupted.
I've stopped him. So you go ahead.
So, for us, and for me personally, listening and hearing that the certificate was certified, that is now there were so many issues that deposition raised. So many issues for the release of these documents. And for me, beyond the rhetorics and everything, it's the image of Nigerians, Nigeria and Nigerians internationally. Why is there so much controversy around our president? So much controversy. I know who my father is. I know who my mother is. Can we say that about Mr. President? Somebody who would lead us. Somebody who will be in the annals of our history. We have so much controversy about that he graduated from Chicago State University. And we are seeing that if you are logical and you look at the documents that have been released, you have documents from Richard Daley which contradict all the previous history we have of him. The upper education schools that he claimed, Lagos College, was claimed in his Lagos forms. Now, beside and beyond the entire conversation we're having here was Section 137 of the Constitution that says you cannot submit, and anybody that submits a forged certificate is not eligible to contest as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And from what we have seen, on the position, the CSU registrar was asked about that certificate, and he says he has no idea that certificate, and he presented, don't forget that CSU released documents, and Atiku's lawyers asked for several copies of certificates that were issued that year. And none of them match what was submitted to INEC. And he was put to that question, do you think Atiku's lawyers will go to a deposition where they are trying to affirm, what was the whole case? The whole case was to be able to get certified documents of what certificates looked like in 1979 from the university on oath. And that was the reason for the deposition. And we have gotten that. As far as I'm concerned, it is now in the public domain for people to judge and ask questions. If you ask me, this is one of the lowest ebbs as a country we have come to. Because everything points to the fact that I don't think I'll come here and question whether President Bola Ahmed Tinubu went to Chicago State University. That's not the question here. The question is, what was submitted to INEC? Was it what was gotten from Chicago State University? The dates, everything about that certificate was denied by the registrar. Now, this is not the person that signed.
Did he deny it?
No,
because I actually listened to the statements that came from that deposition. Did he actually deny it, or was he saying that he is not privy to what was submitted to INEC because he is not to be drawn into legal matters in Nigeria?
No, that's not
what he's bothered with, that the school should release is the certificate which they have released,
yes,
and it corresponds with what they have, that the transcripts belong to him, that he graduated with honors, and that he also attended the school the same year, the year in question.
You see, the point and the question that we're asking is this. The certificates released in 1979, the subsequent certificate that was claimed that he was gotten was signed by someone who had not assumed that position until 4 years after. So it then presupposes, and you know how all this controversy started was from the investigation done by David Hundeyin, when he saw that diplomas, a long time ago, we had something called Oluwole in Lagos, where and the most amazing thing about it is that if the president had really gone through the process of getting his certificate, we wouldn't have this controversy. Perhaps it was something where, look, I don't have the time to go to the university, just any certificate. I went there, I'm just going to present, but forgetting that the Constitution was very specific, very, very specific, that do not submit to INEC anything that is forged. And the registrar was asked to confirm if that certificate emanated from, and he said that is probably a Nigerian thing, that the certificate did not emanate from them.
Now, this is where the problem lies, that the interpretation of what, transpired and what the registrar actually said. And because no Nigerian journalist was there, like the reviewer said, we are relying on, the information that is coming from there, which may be misinterpreted. Like both of you are talking about the same matter now, interpreting it in different ways. But let's react to what he talked about, that the person that signed the document, because that's another aspect of the entire certificate matter, that the person that signed the document joined the school years after it was signed, and it is the signature that reflected on the certificate. How would you react to that one?
Well, I wouldn't want to say that...
her signature, rather. And I even read a report where she's even threatening,
let me say something.
To go to court on that.
Let me say this. Let's use our own climb here as an example. Because the registrar, Caleb Webb, said in his, deposition or, testimonies in the court, that since 1979 to the year he joined CSU, they had 6 registrars before he joined them, from 1979 to the time he joined CSU. Now, if you are in school in Nigeria, your certificate got damaged, State University of Abuja, and you graduated about 20 or 30 years ago, definitely the registrar that was there at the time, or the VC that was there at the time of your graduation, may not be the one that was there. Now, if your certificate is damaged and you go to get it through a third party, like Caleb Webspec rightly stated, that they don't engage or they don't reissue diploma certificate, you go through a third party vendor, or let me bring it to our own claim here, maybe a registered business center with them,
an agent,
or printing company with them, to get your own certificate. One thing Nigerians need to know is that in that certificate, because it's ceremonial, you even have the right to redesign it to your own taste. That is the truth. What is important is the transcript.
Redesign it to your own taste.
Absolutely. You can Google it. It's out there. They advertise it out there in the US. If you have lost your certificate, we can get it back for you. Okay? But what is important here is that Asiwaju graduated, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu graduated from Chicago State Universities with honor or first class. President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is, a first class student of that institution. He applied to that school as a male. He is a male, and he was talking about Southwest College certificate. There is a social security number on that Southwest College certificate. By the position of the Caleb Webb, he stated that they verified the same security number on the Southwest form, and the social security number on his file, and it corresponds to be the same. So it's the same Bola Ahmed Tinubu that possesses that Southwest College certificate that's graduated from, CSU. It's unfortunate that Atiku Abubakar has taken to, has chosen to, damage our image in the international community. I call on him to tender an unreserved apology to Nigerians and to Mr. President, because the position in the U.S. court, has vindicated Mr. President that he graduated from that school, and the certificate he has submitted to INEC, is the authentic certificate, that he possesses from CSU University. There is no doubt about that. There is no argument about that. It is not me and you that will come here and claim and clear him of that. It is the school that has the honors, the responsibility, the legal right, the moral right to clear him, and they have come out to clear him that he's their student, he graduated from their school.
How different is that document, released by the CSO from the one that was submitted to INEC? Because that seems to be the point the PDP is making now, that there are two different, certificates.
Well, if they said there are two different certificates, it's possible, because the register stated that if you lost your listing, because they don't have record of it. In the first place, they did not even go with any certificate to CSU to say, this is what Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu submitted to INEC. Please help us confirm, is this your document? They never saw any document with respect to that, with regards to that. There was no document.
Okay, have you taken time to look at what was submitted to INEC and what has been released, whether they are the same thing or
What
they are
was
different?
released from CSU, there was no certificate released from CSU. What was released from CSU was their responses to the questions Atiku raised, and, the transcript, record of his performance on each subject that he took, that was released. If there is any certificate that they released, let it prove it to us and prove it to Nigerians that there was a certificate released from CSU that bears the name of Asiwaju that is out there. It is not. There is no certificate.
I think this is a right place to really thank His Excellency Atiku Abubakar for the numerous judicial battles he has engaged on behalf of Nigerians. Today, deputy governors have terms, and they cannot be removed from office because of who? Atiku Abubakar. It is I mean, if you even weigh the social media opinions, weigh the opinion of common Nigerians, they're so grateful to Atiku Abubakar. Those that were even in the Obi camp today are hailing him, clapping for him, that he went as far as to unearth so many things. We have not come back to the issue of the Lagos college that he attended after that school, before the school. I mean, it's such a wonderful time traveler, our president, that he can go back, take a 4-year tenure. A school that started in 1974, you attended it in 1970. I mean, those were revealed in the documents that he tendered to CSU, which were released. And by the way, CSU released copies of certificates that were issued in that same year. And none of them bear a resemblance to what was put out and sent to INEC. We will answer those questions perhaps when we get to the Supreme Court. But here, we have to really ask these questions, that why put Nigerians through these issues? All you needed to do was be a straightforward person. You're submitting documents to INEC. And you know the funny thing. Most documents that were submitted in 1999, when he contested for governor of Lagos State, were removed and no longer submitted. All we had in this year was the CSU document that was submitted. No college, no primary school, nothing. And we keep asking these questions. Perhaps I want to tell the story of who the Nigerian president is to my children. Where will I start? Where exactly is he from? What schools did he attend? Because you need to put, even as bad as President Muhammadu Buhari was, in terms of presenting a certificate to Nigerians, we could tell the primary school he went to, the secondary, and we do not have this controversy with any of the other presidential candidates, be it Peter Obi, be it former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. We know the schools he attended. Why is the president's history shrouded in so much controversy? As we speak today, this is October. I enjoy my friend to just sit back. The FBI is going to start releasing from his 2,500 pages of documents he has on our president. What do you think are we now going to now leave Vice President Atiku Abubakar and now blame the FBI that it is disgracing Nigerians? No, it is the individual who put himself as president of Nigeria in an election that we're still debating today, that has put himself in the spotlight. We didn't go and ask FBI to release 500 pages of documents. It will be released this month in October. If we think that we are making so much noise, let's wait till that time. Besides, he laughs. But this is a man that was indicted. Indicted by a U.S. court. Indicted by a U.S. court and forfeited $460,000 on account of monies that were linked to narcotic trade. I think that we must sit back and think about the integrity of this country. What message, what sort of morals do we expect the children that we're bringing up in this country to have? You must be upright. I must be able to ask you and say, yes, you went to this primary. I went to Ekulu Primary School. I went to Mari Sutu. I went to Tudunwada Abuja. I can tell you my history. This is what we expect, that when we ask our president, he's able to tell us. Because then we begin to form a mental picture of the kind of individual that he is. Okay, unfortunately, we cannot do that today.
Apart from other matters that you're raising, let's still stay with the CSU documents that that was released and the position by the registrar. If the way the registrar has confirmed that Tinubu attended the school, graduated the same year with even honors. In fact, he said he was one of the best students, in his class at that time in accounting courses. And then that, from what Alancha said, that even the certificate in question are just ceremonial for them. That it is here that we take certificates to be something absolutely serious. And the transcripts, says he applied as a male. And he has also, gotten some of those transcripts from there as someone who performed very well. Shouldn't that end the saga, of certificate? Okay, so, but hold on, really. You will respond to this question when we come back. We need to leave the space for the social media. All right, thank you so much for joining us and for staying with us up until now. We'll come back to our first discussion and we'll be rounding off now. So back to you, Tony. I asked you earlier whether with this, certificate that has been released, PDP and Atiku asked for the release and the certificate has been released. Shouldn't we just let this go and allow the president to govern the country? Because we see this matter seems to, be delaying governance, a lot of distractions here and there.
Well,
and then your concluding thoughts on this.
Like I said, if you go back, I'm going to really address this as a lawyer, yes, and then as a Nigerian. The law is very clear. on what you submit to INEC. Section 1371J. Unlike if you use the case of Shetima, where there was a proviso that did he willingly or knowingly, there is no proviso in this. It is if you submit a document that is forged. This battle it's not one that started today, and it's one that historically tells of someone that is comfortable with forgeries. If you remember, Ganifa Aimi, 23 years ago, wrote a petition to the Inspector General of Police and cited the very institutions that this man has attended. You know, the question I want to ask, and if I ask my brother here, what primary school did your president attend? He cannot tell me. I'm very certain today, even as much as he's defending the president, he cannot tell me the primary school his president attended. And that's a shame. That's something that speaks to the integrity of where we are. Look, the PDP that I support today, during the time this same president we have today was having issues with his name, remove Salisu Buhari, remove Evans Enwerem. You know, we say it's just something about the certificate. No, we take these matters very seriously. We take these matters very, very seriously. Evans just had an S. He was removed as Senate president under a PDP regime. Now, we have, if we, like he said, and I think I'm going to post the deposition, there's nowhere in that deposition that the school admitted that agents or anything, or said third party. Look, any certificate, I studied in the University of Buckingham. If you want your certificate, it must be issued via the authority of the school. So it knows everything that is issued in its name. You can't just go and design certificates and say that you have designed this. Take that certificate and go somewhere for a job, and if they will not. And you know, the question is, and you see, speaking as a lawyer, we cannot hold the president. The Supreme Court will not look into perjury. But right there, in the documents that were released to Nigeria, to Vice President Atiku Abubakar, former Vice President, it shows that our president, on oath, said he has no other citizenship. Whereas in those documents, and he can say that this was a typographical error because this was written as U.S. citizen. He claimed that he was a U.S. citizen in those forms. So you see, the issue we have today is one of a series of perhaps identity crisis that we have. If we ask the question today, who is Yekini Amuda from Iregbiji? Who is that person? Because that name keeps coming up.
All right, we'll be.
But we can't answer that question, can we?
We'll be leaving this discussion here, but you know, Alancha, you need to respond to some of these issues before we go and your concluding thoughts. Now, I'm going to ask you this specifically. If from what you have said here that came out of that deposition, the president knew that all of this were clear and would come out clean, why was he saying or trying to stop the CSU from releasing that certificate in the first place, and then saying that it would do some kind of damage to him, maybe perpetual damage or something to him? Because that is also something that is fueling, you know, the distraction we are having, and the what would I call it? Is it people really believing that there's something to hide, and that is why he said that. Again, from what Tony said here, it will seem like there's a lot of controversy really surrounding the president's certificate from when he was, you know, even from the past when he was the governor of Lagos State till now. So how do we clear this and then ensure that governance is given to Nigeria? Because that's what matters to the country at the moment. Please, your concluding thoughts, but we're going now.
There is no controversy whatsoever around the certificate of Mr. President. He talks about primary, secondary, and all of that. I'm aware that in those days, you can even attend, you know, you can write your GCE without you going to a secondary school, without you going to a class. Self-development. You registered and write for your GCE, study and write for your GCE, and you come out of it with a certificate. Now let's dwell around this certificate saga from the CSU. The 32-page document that have been released, there is no, I don't know where they are getting there. And that is unfortunate that young people will come on a national TV and be misleading Nigerians. for something that is in the public domain for everybody to read? There is no place in that document where, there is, Asuwaju claimed to be a U.S. citizen. Let me tell you, Caleb Webb confirmed.
It is there. It is in the documents that were released.
Caleb Webb confirmed that the address of Tinubu on the, Southwest College, which is a Nigerian address, is the same address on his file in the U.S. So
Dominic,
what I am trying to say,
this
is very, he's interrupting me now. He's interrupting me now.
Gentlemen, we're even rounding up now. Thank you so much, Dominic. Of course, you have made your point. You have made your point, Dominic, so we thank you very much. I've been speaking with Dominic Alancha, who is the convener of Asiwaju Mandate Guard, AMG, and he's been joined by Anthony Hilebo, lawyer, former member, PDP Presidential Campaign Council, looking at the CSU certificate matter of Bola Tinubu, of course, Nigeria's president, and what the outcome has been from that investigation in the